Assalamu alaikum and hello viewers, researcher. Today I'm going to talk on how to write a review article, particularly writing on high impact review article. This is based on some of your request to upload a video on writing a review paper. So in this review paper, I will mainly focus on one very important aspect, which is critical review of literature. This is very important in writing a thesis, in publishing high impact journal. So let me start. So these are the outlines of my presentation, this video. As you can see, there are a number of contents that need to be covered to address this issue. So first of all, I'll be talking about why we need to publish. This is particularly original paper, review paper. So there will be focus both on why we need to publish original paper, at the same time, why we need to publish review paper as well. I also will explain the meaning of review, critical review, in a simple way and at the same time in a comprehensive way. I also will highlight the purpose of literature study and why we need to publish or why we need to write high impact review paper with quite details based on my 25 years of experience, as well as based on my experience on writing number of good quality review papers, which are tremendously cited. Since writing review paper or citation has some good aspect, positive aspect, and there are some drawbacks, some negative aspects. So I will try to highlight here some drawbacks, some negative aspects of citation, along with the importance and positive aspects of citation, because citation is related to it, review paper. So that's why this aspect also I'll be talking. Certainly when researchers start to write, submit a paper, while publishing, while submitting, they face a lot of challenges. So that challenges are also very important to highlight so that you can overcome. And then I also will be talking about the structure of a review paper, like original paper. Review paper also need to follow certain structure, so I'll be highlighting that. So when we start writing, so we start writing from a title, abstract, introduction, and some other elements of a paper. So that's why good title, formation of a title is also important. Particularly here, I'll highlight, I'll show some of the good examples of some good titles. And most importantly, as I mentioned in my past slide, that main purpose, actually the main focus is the meaning of or how researcher can address the critical review of literature. So this will be one of the main focus, and researcher need to really understand what is the meaning of critical review of literature. This is very important to write a thesis, to write a paper, to write high impact journal papers. I also will provide some examples of critical review of literature in the forms of tables and figures. Of course, I will show you from where you can get the literature. You are going to write a review paper, so you need literatures, you need the references, you need the published papers. So what are the sources from where you can get literatures? Like original paper, review paper also need to identify research gap. How this review paper that you are planning will be different from published review paper. Without a review gap, without something new, it would not be possible to publish in high impact journal. It is very important, and I will give you some examples how to write it, how to address it. Of course, researchers are looking for where to submit, how to submit, and some of the tips in relation with submission of a review paper. Since it is a review paper, I think copyright and some other issues are also very important. Sometimes these are ignored, these are missed, these are not known. So as a result, there might have some issues later on once published. And I will discuss a little bit about some other matters. So let me start with why we need to publish. This is for both original and review paper, but particular focus will be why basically we need to publish in high impact journal, in high quality journal. So one of the most important reason purpose is basically we need to generate new knowledge, advance science, disseminate knowledge. Okay, so when we publish something, so this is science, so we publish it, so other people read it, other people use it, we disseminate it so that other people also can improve, can get benefit, and at the same time, if there are some gaps in that published work that need to be overcome, that need to be resolved, that need to be further investigated. So that is basically that, to generate new knowledge, advance the science, and disseminate the knowledge. Also, we are working in this society, so there are industrial problems, there are global grand challenge problems. A lot of problems are there, scientific problems need to be solved. So PhD students, master students, basically they need to publish in some universities. These are the requirements. For example, I work with University of Malaya. Sorry. Sorry. So I work in University of Malaya, where it is one of the requirements that students need to publish during their master's and PhD study. To me, this is basically a training, because by publishing number of papers, basically you are training yourself how to write a good quality paper, how to write a thesis. These are also requirements in some universities. But to me, I think this is the best training, because continuously by publishing, we are improving continuously. We are improving our writing, thinking skill, innovation skill, novelty skill. Review paper particularly is the part of the thesis. We know the literature part is part of the thesis. So that's why critical review of literature is important, because normally the examiners, panel members always will be looking for what is the critical review part of your thesis, whether student has addressed this critical review of literature or not. Mastery of literature on that specific topics. So if you know how to critically review literature, this also will be addressed for your thesis, and certainly examiners, panel members, reviewers will be impressed if there are critical elements of review in your thesis, in your paper, in your proposal. Certainly, this also improves the knowledge, since this is a writing process. So you are writing a paper, you are writing an original paper, you are writing a conference paper, you are writing a review paper, you are writing thesis, you are writing proposal. Certainly, a lot of writing skills need to be improved. Okay, so by practicing, by writing, by publishing papers again and again, okay, one paper, two paper, three papers, this will help you to improve your writing skill. This is how we improve our knowledge. For example, I have published, let's say 500 papers, 500 times 3, 1,500 review comments. So one can imagine that how much improvement we need to do throughout our research process for long, let's say 25 years. To boost the self-confidence, I can share with you that when some of my students managed to publish their papers first time, so I can see that how much they feel confident, how much they are motivated. So once we start to publish, as a result, other researchers, scientists, universities, organization will notice our work, and slowly they also will invite us to work as a collaborator, to work as a reviewer, to work as an examiner, panel members. This basically will help us to create a network for our sustainable research and many other purposes. Since we are working in the academic area, so there are reward, there are award, there are academic excellence. So papers are one of the ingredients. Papers, their citations, quality, quantity, both are important for the academic recognition, academic excellence purposes. This again also reflects the quality of the work, because once we submit our papers in journal, so before even submission, it has to go through supervisors, team members, collaborators, and then when submitted, editor will check it, reviewers will check it, first time review, second time review, third time review. So this basically ensures the quality, okay, to improve continuously through the comments. So as you will know that review process, during the review process, reviewers will go through your paper, first reviewer, second reviewer, third reviewer, they will give the comments, and this basically will help us to improve continuously. Why? Because they are expert in that area. Sometimes reviewers are so detailed, so they enter into so much deep that they also check the calculation. As a result, they can give us very strong feedback, very critical feedback, very constructive feedback. These basically helps us to continuously improve. So as I gave you an example, 500 papers times 3, so 1,500 times review comments. So how much improvement we have gone through. This is how we as a researcher improve ourselves. This is also needed for our academic research promotion exercise to get our job. So as you can see, there are number of reasons. For those reasons, we need to publish. Let me define what is the meaning of a review paper in a simple way. Description of your topic area supported by references. So these are basically based on published work. So others' work, and at the same time also your or our own published work. Let's say we have published number of papers, some of the relevant papers in specific topics from our own published paper, and also the papers from others' work. Okay, we on a specific topics, we describe, we explain. That is one source of definition of a review paper. It is also in a simplified way, basically summary, discussion, critical analysis. So these are basically the component elements of critical review of literature. One of them is summary, discussion. Okay, these are, so I will discuss more details what is actually the meaning of critical review of literature. So as you will progress, you'll see that this term, the critical review, critical analysis are very important to critically review the literature. So these are some basic examples, is an interpretation of what has been published. So review is based on published work on a topic, on a specific topic. For example, somebody working on the solar thermal, somebody working on the nanomaterials, somebody working in the social science on the specific areas, specific topics. Okay, by accredited scholars, researchers, basically those which are already published, has gone through peer review process. Discusses published information, as you can see, so it must be published work. Okay, published information on a particular subject area. Okay, it can be engineering, it can be social science, it can be physics, so in your specific area. And sometimes more information in a particular subject area within a certain time period. So I have noticed that sometimes it's also a review is done for a certain period of time. For example, for last 10 years, for last 5 years, sometimes also mentioned latest. Sometimes also in the title mentioned the progress. Progress means for maybe last 20 years, what happened? And what are the latest happening for last 5 years? So it is mentioned in some cases within a certain time period. time frame. Let's say 20 years, 5 years, 10 years, or latest or progress. Is a body of text that contains reviews the critical points of current knowledge. Okay, so it is a body of text. Okay, there will be a lot of content in the form of text. There will be figures, there will be table as well. Okay, this body should be in the forms of critical points. Okay, critical aspects, critical review, critical analysis, critical discussion. So throughout the my presentation, you will see that I'll be talking a lot about the critical points, critical review of literature. That is very important element, because if that can be addressed, there are better chances that can be published in good quality journal, in high impact journal. So what is the comprehensive definition? This is I have taken from the source at the bottom, as you can see. A literature review surveys. So these are also sometimes called state of art survey work of scholarly articles, which, as you have seen, has gone through peer review process. Okay, already reviewed by experts in a specific area, specific field. Okay, those are called scholarly articles. So it can be journal papers, it can be books, it can be conference papers, and also other sources like dissertation, thesis, conference proceedings relevant to a specific topic, as I mentioned earlier. Its purpose is to demonstrate that writer, that is author, has or authors insightfully, thoroughly, and critically surveyed. Again, you can see the point is term is that critically surveyed. Okay, relevant literature on his or her topic in order to convince the intended audience, the users, the audience, the people, the readers, has to convince that this topic is important, worth addressing. That is, you will highlight once the papers are published. Actually, you will see that many people are using, normally review papers are highly used, extensively used. So I will show you some of the examples. Okay, so it has to demonstrate that it is what? It is important piece of work. What is a review paper? May review almost anything, typically recent work. So as I mentioned, within certain period of time frame. So let's say it is for last 10 years. So among them is last 5 years work are normally called the latest recent work. See here the second point, the design to summarize. So this is one of the elements of a critical review of literature. One definition is called summary or summarize the body of the literature or summarize the literature individually. Analyze, evaluate, synthesize information that has already been published. It should not be any original work that has not been published. That's why I mentioned here, no original work should be reported here. Only published literature need to be summarized, analyzed, evaluate, synthesize, and so on. Please take note of that. Also, please take note that writing a review actually should be quite broad and general, not too specific. Okay. To differentiate what is the review paper and original paper, I brought here, there are different categories of paper. Original paper, which are also journal, which also can be published in conference. So basically two types of paper, original paper and review paper. So original paper again, journal paper and conference paper. Review papers, so it can be long papers, it can be short papers. So the definition of review paper I explained. This will be based on published literature, not based on your original work. So original work need to be published in original journal. So now I will focus few slides particularly on purpose of this literature study and importance of writing review paper, importance of publishing a review paper. So as you have seen, one of the important element is purpose is to improve the knowledge on a specific topic. So as you might know that when PhD student, master student start his research, so maybe they have come from different background. So they may not have enough knowledge on that specific topics. So how to improve the knowledge? So student has to be master on that specific topics. That is actually the PhD and masters, or he or she substantially need to improve his or her knowledge. So how to do that? Because this is a research, it is a specific topic. So most important way is to study the literature, read the literature, digest the literature, understand the literature. Okay, so one of the most important point is that to improve the knowledge. Literature is also some source of support. Without a supporting materials in introduction and some other parts of the thesis, journal, actually it is not acceptable. Okay, scientists, researchers normally don't accept without any supporting materials from literature. Establishing this also shows that need, meaning that many other people, when we cite literature, when we use others' literature, this shows that this subject, this area is important, meaning that there are some work has been done. It also shows the importance. This is also for the purpose of comparison and validation. For example, we are publishing in some original work. So someone else published work is similar, so we can compare, we can validate. Then we can check and verify the strength, robustness of our original work. This is also one of the purpose of literature, using the literature. Used in introduction, literature review, methodology, result, discussion section. So literature actually has immense purpose, many purposes. Okay, so we use literature in the introduction part to support, to show the importance. We also put in the literature review part, that's as a part of critical review, who has done what. And this literature also used in the methodology to justify the methodology, okay? And many other reasons, and why we select that methodology. And normally in the result discussion to compare our results, to validate our results also used. So as you can see, literature has many purposes. It's not only for the purpose of literature review, it has many other purposes. And also another important purpose when a researcher is going to conduct their main original research. Actually, they need to know, they need to design their experiment. What would be their critical parameters? What would be their input parameters? What would be their variables? Particularly, what would be his or her experimental parameters? So how this can be done? So if someone reads, let's say, number of papers, this will give at the methodology section of that paper, will help the student to identify actually what's at the equipment, what's at the specification, what's at the operating condition. Okay, slowly they can note down all those points, and then they can prepare a draft design of experiment, can discuss with their supervisors, and then again they can further read some more paper, and certainly this will help them to design their experiment. So you see, it is very important. Literature is very important even to design your experiment. Used in thesis, the literature's purpose is not to use only at the writing paper. So we write thesis, we also write research grant proposal, we also need to write admission proposal, we also need to write report. So everywhere we need to provide latest, relevant references, literature. So as you can see, references, literature has many purposes, many benefits. So this is one of the important aspects. As you can see, that writing a review paper, citation trend of review papers. As you can see, normally review papers are more cited, highly cited, as you have seen, because normally review papers are written for the broader audience. So topic is broader, it's not that too specific. Okay, and also it is written summarized from many papers. So it is really, it is basically very useful for many purposes, as you have seen, and this particularly also reduce researcher time. So researchers basically found review papers are very useful. So that's why review papers are extensively cited compared to other types of paper. This is one examples of a review paper, The Hallmark of Cancer, Next Generation, published in Cell 2011. So as you can see, one single paper is cited 61,329 times. Single paper. So as you can see, importance of writing review paper. This is one of the purpose. It's not everything. So now I'll be talking a little bit about the importance of citation. At the same time, what are the drawbacks and challenges, as researchers are also concerned with this citation impact. The number of citations may be regarded as the measure of usefulness. To me, many people use it. Some papers are highly used, extensively used, meaning that they found it useful. Okay, and maybe in some cases, some of the papers are original papers, has very novel element, highly novel element, for example, published in Science and Nature. Breakthrough results are there, so innovations are there, so that's why many people use it. Okay, this is also sometimes called the measure of impact. That's why it's called citation impact or academic impact, or it is also called influence, because our works are highly used, meaning that it has influenced many other scientists in their specific area. This is used in introduction, literature, methodology, and result discussion, which I highlighted, meaning that maybe in the introduction for the comparison purpose, but particularly if it is used in the result and discussion to basically to compare, to validate, I think in that case, its weightage might be much more stronger than when it is used in introduction. So this may be to highlight actually the quality of citation aspects, where it is cited. Is it cited at the introduction? Is it at the result and discussion section? This may reflect the importance, depthness of the citation impact. Used as a support of our research. This is what I mentioned, to compare and validate research. So these are basically the strength. Okay, so if there are similar types of research, so how strong our research are to compare, to validate. So this particularly helps us also. So this shows why citation has importance. Used to design the experiment, as I mentioned. So if there are good quality paper and there are number of parameters highlighted, identified, so this will help the young researcher, early career researcher, and PhD master student particularly to identify the his design parameter. And if something missing, this is something researcher can address. That will be his or her novelty. Used to improve the existing research. So if there are already some research, somebody has done it, so certainly it may not be perfect. That is actually the purpose of research. Maybe they have improved certain level. So by further researching, it can be improved by another 10%. For example, some material has been developed, but still expensive. So further research needed to reduce the cost. That is basically the purpose of research, and that is basically based on the existing literature. Without literature study, you may need to start from the scratch, which is very difficult task. So you don't have support. Student will be on the ocean, researcher will be on the ocean, so you need a lot of time. And normally in the publication also, reviewers don't accept or does not appreciate much if there is no literature support. Giving due credit to outstanding work. So somebody has done outstanding work, and now we are using that in the result discussion, methodology sections, meaning that we are giving them credit. And even in the writing, sometimes it is mentioned that this is one of the outstanding paper. This is an excellent paper. This is the best paper I have read, I have seen in the literature. So this is again giving the credit, and at the same time also, if it is an outstanding work, some researchers are highlighting. So as you can see how important literatures are. Okay, so that is in relation with the citation impact. So that's why citation impact is very, very important. It has some meaning, it has some impact, it has some usefulness. However, it also has some drawbacks. Let me explain a little bit more on that aspect. So there is a trend of excessive self-citation. This is also not very good practice, not professional practice, unless it is used in writing a review paper. Because review paper we are writing, we are expert. So if we support our own references, that justify that we are expert. But if we excessively use in our original work without strong justification, without strong need, with the intention of inflating our CV with the citation impact, it is not good practice. But now it is there is also a way that this self-citation actually can be deducted, like in Scopus, in Web of Science, actually you can do that, particularly in Scopus, you can remove your self-citation and then you can see. These are also not good things. So for example, you are going for an interview and promotion. Committee member, panel members, or maybe an administrative officer already checked and verified that your self-citation is 50%. So this will be one of the drawbacks and challenges. So researchers also need to be careful with this unprofessional, unethical, some of the misuse of citations. Sometimes I have noticed the reviewer also ask to cite their own papers. So they will list 4 or 5 papers and they will mix maybe his or her own paper and some other researcher paper and will ask them to cite. This is very gray area. This is also very difficult area. Normally, young researcher, early career researcher, and particularly young researcher sometimes feel hesitant to write this directly to the editor-in-chief. Okay, because they are fearful. If they write it, if they complain it, maybe their paper will be rejected. To avoid this, particularly in our case, I raised this issue to the editor-in-chief, because these are unhealthy practice, these are unethical practice, written particularly in the author's guideline, in the journal guideline. So I pick that points and I write directly to editor-in-chief. In most cases, the editors normally, these are bad practice, these are unethical practice, they take it positively and they reply that, they respond that our concern will be taken care, paper will not be rejected due to this. But if some of the papers are justifiable, please justify. If they are not relevant, so you write the justification. So that is the important thing. I think that is the scientific way. So in that case, we write that these are not relevant paper. This is the reviewer's own paper. So we are not going to cite it, and they are not. We have not cited. Let's say 1 or 2 papers may be relevant. We cite. So this is the professional way. But at the same time, if we raise this issue to the editor-in-chief, our paper will not be rejected, and the reviewer might be blacklisted. And this is the one of the way probably we can, up to certain level, we can stop this practice. Editors also sometimes ask to cite the editor's own journal paper again to improve the citation impact. Okay, sometimes I have noticed, sometimes the editor mentioned these are some relevant paper, please cite it. But nowadays, because of this concern raising these are unethical issues, I don't see this from any of the editors for last 4 or 5 years. I did not notice. I noticed this around 8 or 10 years back. Okay, so that's again improving. So if you raise the concern, I think this also slowly can be improved. So this is actually the purpose of also raising the concern, to raise our voice. Okay, these are the bad practice, these are the wrong practice. I think the scientific community will be aware. Okay, at the same time, the reviewers, editor also will not ask, and also as a result, we also know these are wrong practice, bad practice, and we can raise this issue to the concerned authority. Citation required by friends, colleagues. Sometimes, some of our friends also to improve their citation impact, they send their papers, okay, and ask them to cite. This is also unethical practice. Okay, please don't address, please don't respond. Please always try to tell them these are unethical practice. Let's do good things. Let's do the best practice. There are also inappropriate citations. Sometimes citations are not looked properly. Some values, I will show you some of the authenticity in one of the slides. They use secondary sources, as a result, secondary sources they took from this paper, that paper, and as a result, some values are not correct. Some results are not correct. Sometimes citation information also wrong. Name are wrong, just copy and paste, and as a result, some subscripts, some annotations are there, and as a result, ER is missing, volume is missing, some incomplete citations are there. Also, there are negative aspects, sometimes criticizing, correcting, okay, retraction, all those are also drawbacks, and all those things also sometimes not counted, but I think now in some measures, retracted papers are not considered. It is also important for academic ranking, as you know, all over the world, which universities rank what. So these are the buzzword. So around 20 to 30% is the weightage for this ranking criteria, since we are working under the university research organization. So we also need to support university's mission and vision. Of course, certainly through professional and ethical way. These are also needed for the promotion, particularly for higher level of promotion, for research funding. Normally, they ask for CV. So in the CV, they also mention, they also ask how many total citation, what is the H index. So these are the things also required. So if we can address professionally, ethically, I don't see anything wrong with that. Some of the reward, like highly cited researcher award, reward, top 2% also depends on this citation aspect. Working on a review paper helps improve the knowledge of the master's PhD student, as I highlighted. So when students start their work, so they need to improve their knowledge. So by working on a review paper, by digesting, by reading, by critically analyzing, actually it will substantially improve their knowledge on that specific topic. So this is an immense benefit for the PhD master students, research assistant, postdoctoral research fellow on a specific topics, particularly if it is a little bit new area. Some researchers may not have labs, as you know, during the pandemic. So researchers even are not allowed to enter the lab. So in such types of circumstances, so researchers can spend their time, or some researchers may not have the lab facilities. Rather than doing nothing, so they can spend their time at least to do something in a professional way, ethical way, to optimize their time, to best utilize their time in writing a review paper, so that their knowledge can be improved, and at the same time, knowledge can be improved, some research gap can be improved, some research design of experiment can be improved, and this particularly will basically help them also to train in that specific area. This is the part of thesis as well. So literature review also part of original paper in the introduction. So this is what I highlighted in earlier slide. By reading a review paper, new students or new researchers can optimize time. So one review paper normally, sometimes it is summary or critical review of 100 references, sometimes 200, 300, 500 references. So if you need to individually read this 500 papers, so certainly it will take time. So researcher actually has done something for our benefit. This will optimize our time. This will save our time. Okay, so 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 review paper if we read, certainly it will improve our knowledge. Okay, this is normally when I am going to write a proposal, I read some good quality review paper, because I cannot read 500 papers. Okay, so this will optimize our time, at least to identify some of the research gap, to understand the overall topics. Okay, this is how it helps us to save our time, to optimize our time. It helps to identify research gaps, because in the review paper there is a one section called the future directions. Okay, future prospects. These are highlighted, identified. This also certainly helps to write a research grant proposal, and also particularly for new researcher, master student, PhD student, they are looking for their novelty, they are looking for their gap. This will give you some guideline. This will help you to identify the research gap. After critical analysis of the review, actually it can be published in high impact journal, and as a result, this will be an outcome, and this is acceptable. This is considered everywhere, all over the world. Okay, this is a good practice. Even in original journal, there are review papers published. Okay, as you can see, so many benefits. So it is useful, and at the end also, as a some of the impact, if other people extensively use it, so that is our one of the benefit. One can, by writing actually the critically review literature, one can train. This is again the training. they will know once they have written one or two review paper, okay, collectively, collaboratively, as a first author. Okay, this basically will help them to train themselves. What is the meaning of critical review of literature? Later on, they can collaborate, they can guide someone else. So when he or she finish his or her master PhD master student, they need to enter in academic life. Okay, again, they can address these issues, they can train other students. Okay, helpful in addressing critical review of literature in their thesis. As I mentioned in the thesis, there must be critical review of literature. So if you know now by writing a review paper, certainly now you'll be able to address this in your thesis. So you have many benefits by writing a review paper. If someone is an expert on the topics, he or she needs to summarize, critically analyze. This is also purpose. You see that some of the researchers who work, let's say 10 years, 20 years, 30 years in a specific area. For example, you are working in the area of heat transfer, nanofluid. So this area for last 20 years, we supervise students, we seek grant, we publish many papers. So we can summarize them, we can critically review them, and we can publish. Because we have extensive experience in this area. That is also one of the purpose why many people also publish their paper, the review paper. Okay, now I will be focusing on challenges. Any work we are going to conduct, there are always challenges. If you know the challenges and if we can address all those challenges, this particularly will help us to overcome some of the challenges. So sometimes there is a lack of expertise. If a student is new, as you know, they don't have enough expertise, enough knowledge. So that's why it is sometimes problematic. So that's why research is not an element, is a individual work. Research is basically a team work. So you'll see there will be supervisors, there will be co-supervisors, there will be other collaborators. So supervisors are already, for example, I have been working for the last 25 years. So I have written review paper, I have written original paper, I have supervised student, I am the panel member. So I have gone through that extensive training experience. So now I know if students are with us, so I will give them guidelines. Okay, as a result, they can overcome their challenges. But in some cases, the supervisors are not experienced. So in that case, it will be a problem. So that's why they need collaborators. They need other people who has knowledge on that specific area. So need to be careful whether necessary expertises are there or not. So if there is no expertise, I think one of the ways is to collaborate with the relevant people. Lack of patience, dedication, and seriousness. As you need to write a paper by summarizing, critically analyzing 400, 500, 200, 300 papers. So it is not an easy task. Okay, so you need patience, you need dedication, you need seriousness, you need good planning, you need strong determination. Okay, so just by working at the surface, at the shallow level, you will not be able to write a review paper. Okay, so certainly you need the patience, dedication, seriousness. So this patience is not only for our, sometimes in our religion also we are patient. So it's not only for religious purpose, it is also in our work also we need to bear patience. This also sometimes will help us to overcome our stress and many other things. Lack of critical understanding. See, someone is going to write a review paper. So one of the important aspects, as I am highlighting, that critical review of literature. Without knowing that what is the meaning of critical review of literature, they started, and at the end, it is not critical review paper. It is not that comprehensive paper. And as a result, paper will be rejected many times, and this will create a frustration among the researchers. Because rejection at many times, many journals will make us frustrated. I have seen when our papers are rejected many times, when our proposals are rejected many times, this basically creates us frustration because we're always looking for good news, positive news, acceptance. But these are also part of our life. Rejection is also part of our life. Failure is also part of our life. Okay, so critical review of literature is very important, and this talk basically will help you to address the critical review of literature, and it will be in the YouTube channel. Too limited scope in some area. So I also have listened, learned, got the points, feedback from some researchers that, sir, this is very too limited area. Okay, very few work has been done. Only few references are there. So in that case, it is really very hard. So that's why before starting, you need to see that whether there are enough literature already there or not. If not enough literature, sometimes it is very, very hard, because review, as you know, you have to summarize at least minimum maybe. There is no hard and fast rule. So minimum 50 references, okay, 50, 100. It depends on the journal. It depends on your intention. Okay, at least substantial amount of references must be there. So do your homework. Already similar paper exists. Sometimes it is so much saturated and it's so potential area. For example, we are working in the area of solar, renewable energy. These are highly potential areas. So many people publish, many papers already exist. So when we are going to write a new paper, we always will ask the student, will be very careful, what will be something new? What could be something different from the published paper? Otherwise, reviewer, editors will stop us publishing. Okay, so this is one of the challenges also. Challenging review comments. As you know, when we submit, reviewers are expert, and new researcher, young researcher may not have enough knowledge, so they may have some mistakes. And reviewers also can be very negative, very unprofessional. As you know, there are reviewers very harsh, let's say very harsh, and very strong reviewer. He wants to make it extremely strong paper. Okay, so in that case, maybe extremely negative comments, discouraging comments, this happens. Okay, sometimes they also give comments to us also. You go to school and learn how to write paper, despite having the experience of publishing so many papers, so many awards. Okay, this happens. And this is again where also we need to bear patience. We need to be steadfast. Okay, we need to take this positively. If there are something need to be addressed, address it professionally. Okay, that is called rebuttal. Don't be reactive. Don't try to attack the reviewer editors, because they are in the position of decision making. Things always can be done in a professional way. So if you disagree, you write with the justification, with the references, how his comments are not appropriate. This is how we do it. And at the end, sometimes we win. And this is the best way. This is the professional way. Too lengthy content. So new researcher, when they start, so they don't have proper plan, so they start to write it, because review paper, sometimes they just bring the content here and there, put it, without proper management, proper thinking. As a result, content, let's say 200 pages. So then it is very hard for them to concise. So that's why in our case, we give this limit. Don't cross the limit of more than 50 pages, double space, with 10 figures, 5 tables, for example. So and also sometimes we give the word limit to restrict so that it's not too lengthy. Lack of databases necessary published articles. So you are going to write a review paper, so you need the references 200, 300, 400, even some thesis dissertation that can be obtained from ProQuest digital dissertation. So if you don't have that databases, so in some cases, some private universities and some of the universities which are not research focused don't have databases, and databases subscription is very, very expensive. So I was in University of Malaya. I know every year they need to spend 13 million Malaysian ringgit to subscribe all the databases. It is very expensive practice. So some countries may not have that much luxury, that much money to support the research. So in that case, it will be difficult things. But again, that is actually the purpose of collaboration. Actually, collaboration is a lifeblood in conducting sustainable long-term research. Without collaboration, actually, researcher cannot sustain. Okay, so collaboration actually can help you these things. And now you also know some other ways also to download papers through ResearcherGate and some other sources. But always try to do in a professional way and ethical way, because this might jeopardize our life. So now I'm going to share how to write actually the structure of a paper. Okay, so this is basically some rough structure of a review paper. So when we write an original paper, so it is defined by S, IMRAD. I brought it here, IMRAD. I stands for introduction, M stands for method, R stands for results, A stands for end, D stands for discussion. Of course, abstract conclusions are minor elements, it's not included here. That is actually the structure of a original paper, and that is also structure of thesis. Okay, introduction, methodology, result, and discussion. Whereas in review paper, actually, it does not have specific structure based on our experience also. So, but some of the contents are similar to original paper. So there will have title, list of authors. It's similar, no difference. There are abstract. So abstract for original paper, abstract for review paper, it will be almost similar. So that's why when you will be looking for few of the abstract of some of the paper, that will give you guideline. That will guide you also how to write the abstract of a review paper. Certainly, there should have few keywords, nomenclatures, and most importantly, actually, in our case, we always ask the students to come out with TOC, that is table of content. I will share how to develop table of content and how a table of contents looks like. It is very important for us. This is our one of the practice. Introduction, it is certainly like original paper also got introduction, as you can see. So literature review part, actually, it can be, actually, it is a review paper. So it can be separate section and it can be masked in different parts of or the body of the paper. Okay, so main body, actually, it does not have a specific structure. So I'll show you table of content that probably will help you to understand what is the main body. And certainly you need number of quality, high quality tables and figures. So numbers should be there appropriate, as I mentioned. Don't put so many figures, don't put so many tables. Quality, just simply copy and paste, so people cannot read it, so cannot use it, so it does not make sense. Redundancy, meaning that same figures is presented in the forms of tables and figures. So I think this is called the redundancy. Legend, that is the leveling. Legend, what is the meaning of different bars, symbols need to be provided. Certainly, there are conclusions like original paper, acknowledgement, references. So as you need to write huge references, I think that's why reference management tool and note is very, very important. So types, formats, all these things are also you need to check. And you can put their appendices. So how many pages? Now there might be a question. How many pages it should be, as I mentioned. So you can restrict not more than 50 to 60 pages, double page with 10 figures and 5 tables. But some journal maybe accept the lengthy 100 pages. So again, you check some journal, for example, Progress in Energy and Combustion Science, Applied Energy, they accept the long paper, but some journal don't accept. So that's why following the guideline, and also in which journal you are going to submit, you download some of the papers and have a look. And my practice is that actually always, if you want to write a review paper, original paper, thesis, always try to get a model paper, best paper. Okay, 1, 2, 3, few papers, best model thesis, best model paper, and follow them. That basically will guide you. This is my practice. So when I'm doing something new and I'm not clear, actually, I will download few model paper with very good quality paper. Also, when I'm going to follow some researcher, I will follow some good model researcher, for example, from MIT or from Harvard or let's say from University of Malaya. Okay, someone is prolific researcher in our area. Okay, has supervised many students, has secured grant, has good citation, publishing in good quality journal. So that will be a model. I can follow them, where they publish, what they do, what is their topics. This is one of my advice. If you want to be a good researcher, follow a good model. It can be a good model university, it can be a good model researcher, it can be a good model paper. Okay, I hope that will help you to improve continuously. This is sometimes problem, as I highlighted, sometimes the length is too much. So actually it does not work, and it is also not encouraging thing in scientific writing. Normally, it should be precise and concise. Okay, so always don't try to write lengthy things. As you can see, Nash PhD thesis was only 27 pages. So in some universities around the world, actually they only allow their original findings, main findings. Others work literatures are not allowed. And nowadays also there are thesis submission by publication, again to restrict that so much writing, so much length, to avoid so much length. So this is some of the examples of a good title, because title attracts reader attention. If titles are strategic, if titles are appealing, attractive, actually it will entice the potential readers to go into the deeper of the paper. They will read the paper in the abstract, introduction, full paper, and as a result, they might use or cite your paper. So that's why this is one of the important ingredient element. Don't write too long title. So as you can see, one of the title, this is our published paper, a review on global. So that is actually one of the strategic term, important term. We put the global, meaning that it is useful for many parts of the world. Okay, so we put some content for Malaysia because project was for Malaysia. Okay, but we address global issues. So as a result, many people around the world can read the paper. It also will entice. Oh, okay, global. So meaning that it is for many parts of the world. So this is one of the strategic way of putting some strategic term, important word to entice the potential readers in the title. Also, you see the broader biodiesel production, a review. This is also broad. A review of solar photovoltaic technologies. So all the photovoltaic technologies are reviewed, quite broad. But again, in the area of photovoltaic technologies. Hallmark of cancer, next generation. This is also one of the review article, as you can see, cited 61,329 times. Even my lifetime citation is also not equivalent to this one paper. So that's why this is also one of the incentives for the researcher also. If we can write strategic review paper during your master's, PhD, certainly this also will boost your confidence. If it is done appropriately, I mean professionally and ethically, there is nothing wrong to do this practice. And as you can see, original journals also accept review paper. And even some journals impact factor review journal impact factor is very, very high. For example, Progress in Energy and Combustion Science impact factor is close to 30. So how to write an attractive title, appealing title. Actually, I'm not going to do that. So I already have, that is actually the purpose of creating this YouTube channel. So it is already there in my YouTube channel. So you explore how to write attractive title and abstract. It's already there. And also I have uploaded original paper, how to write and high impact journal paper. That's content also uploaded in my YouTube channel. This is basically planning. So now you are going to study the literature. So you need to search, you need to list, you need to read, you need to digest, you need to put some writing, okay, the content. This is what I call the planning. This is also one of the part of the critical review of literature. Without planning also, you don't know what is the topics, what is the novelty. So many things need to be thought. Okay, so you need to search different databases, not only one databases, otherwise it will not be enough. It will not be sufficient. So you need to search from all databases, all publication platform, from publishers, meaning that reviewer cannot say that you have not reviewed some of the papers, you have not included, and that might also entice that they will suggest their own paper. Sometimes due to our fault also, reviewer got that chance. Okay, you got the paper, you list them, and also you need to learn. You need to read them, and when you read, then you need to apply all those critical elements. Synthesis, summarize, evaluation, limitations, drawbacks. Okay, so I will give all those examples. Okay, and then put them in the what with appropriate references. Make a file, make some section, make some subsections. In which section, which part of your review content? Let's say you have table of content, section 1, 2, 3, and 4. So which section will go where? So you again need to think critically also, need to plan also appropriately to start your critical review of literature. This is actually the most important part of this talk. So based on my 25 years of experience, as I also constantly improve, so now I can share with you that what is actually the very high level of critical review of literature. So I have brought here 11 points here. Some may be similar, some may be overlapping, but to highlight you that in different way how we can define the critical review of literature. Okay, so there are 11. What, as you can see, as you have seen in the definition of review, one of the term is use summarize. Basically, you are reading many other people's paper. So they are a single paper, they are a body of the paper. So now we need to summarize them. What are the good findings? What are the positive findings? Negative findings. Okay, so you are going to summarize. So it can be a table, it can be a figure, it can be text. That is one way of definition of critical review of literature is called summary. Synthesize. Okay, so I'll show you some of the examples. Analyze and how your works, these contents are new. Some of the things your own analysis, based on the literature results study, you develop some new points, new idea, new analysis. Okay, and also how your analysis is different. How contents, the review contents are lacking. Different way, try to address. So summarize, synthesize, analyze, okay, in different way. You ask yourself. These are called critical thinking again. And how the works are, okay, let's say you have 4 or 5 papers. Now you can see how the results are also controversial. You can identify, it happens sometimes. In some works, they are saying that, for example, the stability increasing. In some other researchers say it is decreasing. There are controversial research sometimes happens. It can be for many, many reasons. So as a researcher, probably you need to identify all those reasons. I think that will be something interesting. Okay, inconclusive. So they have published this paper, but there is no clear-cut conclusion. And the works also, these results are also too limited and something not very clear. Okay, so of course in scientific publication, as you know, that's why it is called research. Improve it again, research again, further. Okay, so it's not perfect. Interpretation of design and methods. Okay, so you can put your own interpretation, own way. Comparison, critique, as I mentioned, so you can compare, you also can criticize. Okay, there, that one I don't agree, and this is not the right approach based on my study. Maybe this is their wrong analysis. Okay, and it does not support. Discussing significance of the findings, why this finding is important, argument, interpretation, comparison. Okay, you can make your disagreement, strength and weakness. Normally, when researchers are going to write their critical review of literature for their paper, for their thesis, my observation is that they are very good at highlighting the positive impact, good findings, and in most cases, lacking in all these other elements, what we call the critical or sometimes negative aspects or drawbacks or limitations. Those are not highlighted. As a result, particularly for me, for the students, for the review, for the examination purpose, I mentioned that there are only positive findings, so it's not critically reviewed. So all those critical elements should be there. What are the negative elements? What are the other controversial elements? This need to be clearly highlighted, addressed. Through this also will help you to identify actually the research gap novelty. So one of the critical elements is called synthesis. So what is the meaning of synthesis? Is basically implies combining, putting together. Rather than summarizing the main points of each source, put together the ideas and findings, multiple sources in order to make an overall point. So let's say you have number of literature. So from all those literature, you identify some of the points and make an overall point. That is considered as synthesis. So let's give an example. Okay, let's say now you have 4 sources. From the 4 sources, so for the all 4 sources, what is the main idea? Meaning that you are now reading and try to identify number of ideas. Okay, so you came out with the 6 main idea for different sources. And now from this chart, actually, what you can do, identify common themes. Again, you need to think, critically think. So that's why it is called critical review of literature. You need to critically think also. What are the common themes? You can ask yourself. Areas of disagreement among this paper, argument, and what are the gaps in the literature? Okay, which things are not discussed in other papers, and this will be our main focus of my paper. You see, by critically analyzing, actually, you are also identifying your research gap for your review paper, and that also will help you to identify your research gap for your original paper. summarize each source. Okay, so you may have 200 sources, 200 papers. So you can summarize some of the sources, not all together in one tables and figures, maybe 20 references together or individually. Identify and highlight the most important and relevant information from the findings methodology from different sections. Provide an overview of the main points of each source and put them together to make a coherent whole. Write your own interpretation. Okay, just simply don't take the copy and paste from the literature. That's why you need to critically think, okay, and make your own interpretation. Because once you read 20 papers, 30 papers, certainly you can write your own interpretation there. Discuss the importance of findings. Analyzing the source. So again, source can be single source. It can be a body of literature. Okay, so you can analyze in a single source. You can analyze in the body of literatures. Okay, provide an argument that is actually sometimes disagreement, as you have seen in earlier slide also. So there are some overlapping with this word. Okay, sometimes you can provide your disagreement. Comparison and critique. This is important for even original paper also. We need for our validation purpose of our original work. We also use comparison validation. So that is very important. And critique. Evaluate the strength and weakness. As I mentioned, we are very good at highlighting the good findings, positive findings, strength, but normally in most cases lacking in highlighting what are the weaknesses. Okay, because it is not an easy to identify the weakness. Sometimes maybe it is hard for young researcher, new researcher. Okay, so weakness, limitations of the work, how different studies are related. Identify new, different, controversial issues if there exist, confusing points, issues, what evidence is lacking, inconclusive, contradicting, too limited, so on. So when we are going to write a review paper, certainly we need the resources. What are the sources of literature? As you know, there are diverse sources. So one of them is the normally around 80% of literature can be obtained from Science Direct and LCBI. And IEEE Explore also is one of the biggest platform. Springer, Taylor and Francis, multi-science, so many sources are there. So that you search in such a way that you search all the databases so that reviewer cannot identify that some of the important papers are not searched properly. So sometimes students are lazy, researchers are lazy, they don't know the proper literature, and as a result, the reviewer will give the comments. So these are important references, not identified, not critically analyzed, not used. In addition, sometimes some of the sources are not available. So it is always good. You can personally contact some of the researchers. This is what I did during my master's and PhD. Okay, if you write a professional way, polite way, that this is needed for my research and your work is very good, it's not accessible, please help me to get this paper. Sometimes I also got the thesis. Okay, and also as you have seen the literature also, the thesis also literature. I think thesis also can be obtained, that is from ProQuest digital dissertation, those who subscribe. For example, I'm working with Lancaster University, so Lancaster University have that database, so I can download. So as a result, I can help my students also, and I can use for my various purposes also. This is actually the role of collaboration. So when you will not have some of the things, for example, research resources, lab equipment, expertise, databases, thesis paper, certainly the collaboration will help you. That's why the role of collaboration is very important for our sustainable research. Also, sometimes nowadays, the final author's version actually without copyright actually put in institutional repository, so which is not copyright content. You can use that also. You need to learn also. Research gap. This is very important to be a prolific researcher, to publish continuously for long-term goal. This is one of the main reasons. If there are a number of reasons why paper is rejected, so this would be the number one, for example. So that's why its weightage is very, very high, very, very heavy, and I strongly recommend that without a strong novelty, please don't submit in high quality journal. Maybe you can try in conference, Q3, Q4, but high impact journal, certainly you need to think again and again whether the research gap is strong or not. So this is one of the ways. Sometimes they just write that there is no any other work on this area. It's not enough. So don't write one liner, one sentence, or don't write. There are only limited words on this. Okay, these are not strong words to address your novelty. You see what has been done here very clearly. They have mentioned, they compare some of the papers. So as you can see in the literature, they mention authors of the paper cited in the reference 8. So they have compared that reference 8 and 9 also, as you can see. Authors of the paper cited in reference 9 have briefly discussed various solar PV panel cooling technologies. However, only few technologies are introduced, not all. That is the drawback they highlighted. Okay, develop and group couple. Okay, in the reference 9, the authors presented an overview of the various methods that can be employed in cooling cells. However, when looking closely, it can be seen that the focus of the paper. So they have discussed the two papers, 8 and 9, and now they are talking that how their papers are different. It can be seen that focus of the paper was only on the examination of passive. I mean, these are criticizing their works. Unlike the above mentioned review studies, this paper, meaning that their paper, they are going to submit paper, provides a comprehensive review of how different technologies can be used to minimize the negative effects. So this is where they mention their novelties. Okay, while trying to improve the performance of PV panel operating beyond the recommended temperature. So they have included higher temperature than what were considered in the literature review, those who already published. So this is how you need to study few review papers, what they have done and what they have not covered. That is actually the content of this review paper. And also this review gap is, if possible, try to address in every section. In every section, you try to address, these are the additional things we are going to address, we are going to write in this paper compared to the literature. That will make your paper very robust, very strong. I don't think the editors, reviewers can say that there is no novelty. Okay. So authenticity of the literature, again, when we use the sources, sometimes we just take the source from secondary sources, maybe they have taken from other sources, and as a result, there will be inaccurate results. So for example, we are trying to get the electrical conductivity of magazine. So after checking, you see, in different paper, saying it's different value. So it made me confused. So then I dig out into the main, who are actually authentic researchers, who are the prolific researchers, as many of you know, the Yuri Gogursi, who invented the magazine and their group. So I checked there and I only use their references as an authentic source. So in scientific literature, these are also happen. So please try to be careful to report only the authentic results. Okay, so there are some tips depending on the level of expertise and experience. So sometimes you can write very short review paper, it can be very lengthy paper, it can be few references. So that's what I noticed a few years back in renewable and sustainable energy reviews, but I don't think this can be practiced at this current time. But sometimes short mini review paper you can write in a shorter version to practice, to learn. It can be up to 100 pages with 300, 500 references. As you can see, some journal like Progress in Energy and Combustion Science. It can be 100 pages with so much references. It is quite easy to publish in some journal. Again, these are the experience. In our society, also there are some people who are very harsh, very strong, very negative, whereas there are some moderate people, some mild people. So it's also in the scientific community. Some journal editors are extremely harsh, some are moderate, some are very easy. So these are also needed for our sustainable growth, because if paper is accepted 10 times, 15 times, we will die. So to avoid that also, we need to know all this, some of the tips. However, it is very difficult in some journals, as I mentioned. So normally in applied energy, when you submit, even though reviewer gave some suggestion that it can be accepted, but editor rejected. So you can see it's very harsh to me. Prepare a table of content. I think that is one of the way I'm going to share now. Okay, so this is called table of content. So how to start? So when you decided a specific topics in consultation with the supervisor, with the team members, you did your homework. This is maybe a PhD topic. This is maybe master's topic. Okay, so these are the roughly area, and then start downloading the paper as I showed in the initial planning. Okay, so download number of good quality review paper, okay, some original paper, and from there start to read them, digest them, okay, and try to put the draft title maybe or some of the points in the forms of bullet. Okay, so by reading all those papers, some good quality review paper, okay, 4, 5, 10, maybe one PhD thesis, one master's thesis, okay, and some other reports, and some good quality original paper from high quality journal paper. And now start to read them, digest them, and put your own points there, particularly what will be your skeleton. That is what is called table of content. I'm sure you know that when you write your undergraduate thesis, master thesis, so there are table of content. So this is same, but it is in the form of a review paper, not your thesis content, not your undergraduate thesis content. So this is in relation with writing a review paper. Contents are different, structures are different. Okay, so you develop a draft table of content, then you start to discuss with your supervisor, collaborators, okay, get their feedback and tune it, improve it, make it at least 80% now at this stage is okay. Then once this is done, actually now you can start with the section introduction, okay, other part one by one, and make some good plan how you are going to address this section, okay, maybe sometimes other section also you can put. So you need to think again critically which section you are going to cover, and you are reading one section of a paper and other section also might be useful. So this is again, you need to critically think and write the whole paper. And every section actually, you need to address all those critical points, that 11 points I highlighted there. If you can address some of them, not all, as much as possible, you also need to understand actually all those points. I would strongly suggest also do some homework to understand all those things. It's not an easy thing, okay? I'm giving lecture, so lecture is sometimes not that effective unless we practice ourselves. Okay, so I strongly suggest that all 11 points I highlighted, do homework, understand, read the paper, how they have addressed. Okay, I also will give some of the examples and address all those points in every section, and I can assure that this will make your paper very, very strong, and inshallah it will be accepted in good quality journal. And that also will help you to make your critical review of literature for your thesis, for your proposal. Okay, some examples I'm going to give on the critical review of literature. These are examples in the form of a figure. As you can see, summarizing body of literature. So here, let's say the 10 references they have studied and they have drawn their own figure. This is one source of critical review of literature in the form of figure. Okay, I'm not going to explain the figure, just to show you. These are the ways. And you also need to learn how to do these things. Okay, so in this figure, as you can see, these are practiced like top quality journals, Science, Nature, rather than one figure, they bring actually A, B, C, D, E, and F. Okay, many figures they bring, and at the description box, actually, they write a lot of things. Okay, in the discussion section also, they write a lot of things. So of course, here the one challenge is the quality. And also you need to bring the copyright permission when you bring the other figures. So this is another way. Actually, A, B, C, and D, many figures are brought, and as a result, you can concise. But quality is a challenging when you just bring like this. You also can redraw your figure where possible. This is in the form of a table. Okay, as you can see, there are a number of references, 10, 12 references has been used. Okay, these are some of the parameters, what I call particles, size, fluids, and most importantly, what's the observation? What are the limitation drawbacks actually should be highlighted here. Okay, this is another example, so I will not go through much. Okay, submission of a review paper. In some journal, accept submission, review manuscript only by invitation. Okay, the editor-in-chief send an invitation to some of the authors, or authors also can directly write to the editor-in-chief, I want to submit. And if editor agrees, then only you can submit. Otherwise, it is not allowed, like, you can submit through the online submission. No. Please take note of that. Some journal allows both submission, only review manuscript. Okay, that is review journal. So like renewable and sustainable energy review, it accepts only review. It is a review journal. Progress in energy and computer science, only review. So if you submit original paper, it is not right. It is not appropriate. Some journal allow both original and review paper. That is good. Some journal editor ask author CV, okay, because they need to check that whether you are really expert or not. Okay, number of good quality relevant papers, how many students you supervise in that area. That will justify that you are an expert to write a review paper. Okay, that's why CVs are sometimes asked. And also some of the draft content of the paper, little bit more additional things also asked rather than sending the full paper sometimes. Sometimes they also ask full paper. So in writing review paper, you should be very careful also some of these things. Otherwise, it will jeopardize our life also. There might be ethical issue, unprofessional issues. So as a researcher, we need to be ethical researcher. We need to be professional researcher also. So sometimes supervisors, sometimes researcher, without addressing this thing, they just pushing, the just published paper. I think that is not appropriate way. So young researcher, early career researcher also should give necessary training. They need to be informed what is right, what is wrong, professional way of doing the things. So one of the issues is the copyright. So you are taking some of the other speakers, for example, which cannot be redrawn. SEM image, FISM image, TM image cannot be manipulated, cannot be distorted. Those are unethical issues. Okay, so but you can use from published work, so that provided that you got the copyright information. So this is normally the journal websites. Some journals give you easily fill the form and they will give you the copyright without paying. Some journal ask money. That is difficult problem. Content similarity, of course, you are taking from other sources, so you have to be very careful how much content similarity is there. This can be done checked by Authenticate or TRNED. Okay, so normally it should be less than 1%. Any content more than 4%, 1%, you need to reduce less than 1% or up to 1%. But some of the contents like our address, for example, some of the word like heat transfer, always shows and references. So this need to be manually done. And these are the things also need to be communicated with the editors, reviewers. Sometimes they also don't understand. I think that we need to highlight that this content is due to references. So sometimes these are the things manually you need to do, need to address. And also the image cannot be detected by content similarity software. This is my own research I have found. So always be careful. If you do that without proper references and copyright, I think that might be a challenge and issue. Okay, someone may raise a concern. Reference management, EndNote, since you are working on a review paper, 200, 300, 400, 500 papers, and also for your thesis, certainly these tools actually making research easy. That is called EndNote, that is reference management tool. You need to learn this. Paraphrasing. So again, you need to rewrite your own way, okay, own phrase, own right, so that content similarities does not cross that certain limit. Now, I will little bit talk about our research area. So as you can see, our research center for nanomaterials and energy technology, that is our focus. So those who are facing difficulties in conducting research, so in this specific area, emerging nanomaterials such as magazine, graphene, CNTs, okay, some of the potential nanomaterials we are using, working, synthesizing, hybridizing, and applying in energy storage, heat transfer, solar energy. These are very highly potential area, niche area, global grand challenge area. So we welcome working with us, those who are facing difficulties in the form of collaboration, and also we have good facilities. So it can be in both ways. So if you want to use our equipment, you can pay the service fee. We are very efficient, dynamic, fast, and reasonable fees we charge. Many universities, industries using our lab facilities. Here we are providing good service. We also have one lab executive, okay, to manage all these things. So overall, it is a good service. Also, we encourage collaboration. Those who need our facilities, as you can see, our lab, which state-of-art lab equipment, we spend 5 million Malaysian ringgit, which is equivalent to $1.5 million to build our very brand new lab. Even MIT researcher, Harvard researcher can visit it, and also our local people visit it, and every researcher feel very impressed with our research facilities. It is a one-stop research center. Actually, most of the things are here. So it will be very helpful for you to solve your problem, to solve your challenges. We welcome collaboration and using pro service. So to cater your need, as you can see, sometimes when you give talk, so sometimes due to limitation of time, we cannot talk enough, we cannot talk much. So to serve the scientific community based on 25 years of my experience, I'm obliged that I need to share those who are young, junior. Sometimes they are not taken care properly. As a result, they have potentiality. They have innovative minds. They are innovative, but they are not inspired. They are not motivated. They are not taken care. Since I have some rich experience, alhamdulillah, so I'm glad to open this channel to serve scientific community, research community. Even I feel senior researcher also can use this for their students. Okay, they can recommend so that they can train their students also through this channel. As you can see, the contents are rich based on my 25 years of experience. Okay, so it's already there. Some of the contents, as you can see, so research strategy for early career researcher is very attractive, very appealing, and many researchers already found it very interesting. So it is one of the popular topics. Of course, other topics also. So as time goes, I will download, I will upload other contents based on your needs requirement. As also, I know which contents are important. As I highlight again and again that I have 25 years of experience. So I have gone through that process. So I have supervised students, I have managed fund, I have written proposal, I have published paper, I have collaboration, I built a lab, so I have some award. So that basically the things I know based on my this long experience. So what's the important thing for you? Okay, so a lot of contents are there. Please explore them, please share them, please make comments. Okay, yeah, if something need to be improved. Okay, with that, I would like to conclude my lecture for today. I hope this will be useful and this is very important topics for you. Assalamu alaikum and thank you.